Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to talk about the good guy with a gun myth, because we all know it's a myth. Good guys with guns don't stop bad guys with guns. Just doesn't happen. At least that's what the media tells us. That's what Bloomberg tells us. That's what Eric Swallowswell tells us. You know, they've mocked us for the whole idea that good guys with guns stop bad guys with guns. They say, well, if that actually happened, we wouldn't have mass shootings or mass killings because somebody would be there and stop the bad guy. And I'll give them credit. I'll actually say they're right if you exclude all the times it actually happens. If you exclude all the cases where good guys with guns stop bad guys with guns, then it never happens. That's all you got to do. You just got to willfully exclude all the times it does happen. But it does happen. It happens quite often. In fact, there's hundreds of thousands of uses of firearms in self-defense or in legal purposes every year. FBI confirms that. But a lot of people just ignore that, because they just want you to think that the more guns around equals more danger. When in reality, when there are good people around carrying a gun, bad guys don't get away with the things they do. They get shot themselves before they get to become famous and take out a lot of people with them. It's a good thing. It's happened at conventions where a bad guy who was trying to go in and set off a bomb gets shot by an undercover police officer or an off-duty police officer. There's all kinds of cases where just someone being there with a gun was able to stop a bad guy. This case in Indiana recently, this is the perfect example of it. It happens all the time, and this is the perfect example. And for once, the media can't ignore it, because a lot of times they're able to ignore it because if the good guy stops the bad guy before he kills a certain number of people, well, then they don't have to call it a mass shooting and they don't have to talk about it. In this case, the guy came out and actually managed to shoot and kill 3 people before the good guy took him down. Now, he had a rifle, at least one rifle, and multiple handguns and a lot of ammunition. So if you think he was done with 3, you're crazy. He went to a mall, which is a gun-free zone, and started shooting. He was fully intending on becoming a mass murderer that day. But a good guy with a gun stopped him. So it does happen. It happens quite often if you pay attention. But I don't want to stress just the fact that a good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun today. This kid that stopped him, and I say kid, he's 22, but to me that's a kid. I've got children older than that. I've got underwear that old. But I wanted to say he is a hero, and he deserves to be treated like a hero. But in reality, this kid is just a regular guy. He hasn't had any formal training. He hasn't been in the military or law enforcement. Because a lot of times when someone's had training, the media will try to portray it as, oh, well, the only reason in this case they were successful is because they were highly trained or members of the law enforcement or blah, blah, blah. This kid's got none of that. He's a young guy who just started carrying because his state just enacted constitutional carry. This guy's had no formal training. He is just a person exercising his Second Amendment constitutional rights, and he happened to be there when something bad happened, and he took out the bad guy. It wasn't all that hard, because here's the thing, bad guys like that, they aren't expecting people to shoot back. That's why they choose soft targets, where they know there's not going to be armed people, and there's going to be a lot of bodies to shoot at, so they don't have to be good shots. I mean, I think this guy fired 20-something rounds, and he only killed 3 people with a rifle. Not a very good shot, not very good percentage there. So the good guy was able to take him out easily. And none of those other things that people try to drill into your head to make you feel like you've got to go take 100 hours of training actually happened either. He didn't shoot any bystanders. He didn't over-penetrate and hit someone behind him. You know, all these things that even people in the gun community use to make people feel like they can't carry and can't defend themselves and others safely unless they're like a highly trained operator. When that's all bullshit. Little old ladies with guns defend themselves and others every day, pretty much. And they've had no training. This kid had no training. He's just someone who decided, I'm an American, I'm a responsible adult, I'm going to carry a firearm, and then he happened to be in the right place, or the wrong place, I guess you could say, at the right time, and stopped a killer, stopped a monster. And that just goes to show you, if he can do it, so can you. One of the reasons these bad guys get away with these kind of things, like I said, is they target places where they know there won't be anybody carrying. When people on the left say, well, why didn't a good guy with a gun stop him? Well, because they've made it very hard for people to carry in places. There's no gun zones where a lot of people won't go because they know they're not supposed to carry there. Most people who actually carry guns, and let's remember, it's only a small percentage of people. I mean, I know a lot of us think that, well, I carry and half the people I know carry, so probably there's 20 people carrying at the mall at any time. I guarantee you there's times at the mall where there's nobody carrying. Because a lot of the people who do tend to carry, especially in this area and in most areas, tend to be people that are a little older, because it's so hard for younger people to get permits, etc. in most states, unless they have constitutional carry. Older people like myself don't go places where we can't carry. So it's quite often that the case that there's no one carrying where these people choose to do these things. That's why they choose these places. That's why they choose places that have those no weapons signs on the doors. And they don't have armed security. If you've ever watched your mall security, usually they just have a radio and a flashlight. And that's about it. They're there to stop shoplifters. That's about it. So the reason you don't see more publicized cases of good guys stopping bad guys is because the good guys usually aren't there. There's just not that many people carrying. And things like constitutional carry and getting rid of no gun zones could solve that. We could have more good guys there. Another reason a lot of times people don't carry or intervene is because they've been brainwashed by the tactical community that you're not going to be successful because you didn't take my class, so you should just run away. Or you're just going to kill innocent people because you didn't take my class. You should just run away. So people get it from all sides. You know, these tactical assholes who want to make you think you got to spend $50,000 to be able to fire straight, shoot straight. And people on the left that are making it extremely hard to actually do anything or carry a gun. Especially if you're younger and you're someone that would happen to be at these places. So the idea that good guys with guns don't stop bad guys with guns, it's ridiculously stupid. It happens all the time. And the only reason it doesn't happen more often is because there's so few people carrying. And a lot of those people, like I said, have been brainwashed into thinking, oh, I'm going to overpenetrate, or I'm going to miss and hit somebody, or it's going to, whatever. And they just decide it ain't worth it. So here's the reality. Good guys with guns do stop bad guys with guns. If there were more good guys with guns, there'd be more bad guys getting stopped. In fact, there would be more bad guys who probably didn't do it at all. Because remember, most of these guys are cowards. They are little wimpy kids that have been turned into monsters because they've been bullied, etc. They don't have an ounce of courage in their body. These are selfish little bastards that go out and try to take out their own frustrations on everybody. And I'm not saying that it's totally their fault. I mean, society makes them what they are, and we allow it. We allow kids to be bullied, marginalized, etc. But most of them wouldn't even commit these crimes if they said, well, I could go to the mall and start shooting, but there's probably going to be at least 5 or 6 armed people there, and they're just going to plug me before I even make the news. Which, like I said, this is a rare case. They actually hit 3 people before they got taken out. If he'd have just shot 2 people and then he would have been killed, I don't think it would be on the news. But since the news ran with it immediately because they're like, mass shooting, we're running with this immediately. And then they find out, an armed civilian stopped it. They shot themselves in the foot with their desire to scream mass shooting because they don't like how it was stopped. It was stopped in a way they try to pretend doesn't happen. So they shot themselves in the foot jumping on the mass shooting there. So you're actually seeing this one. If he'd have just shot 2 people or just shot 1 person before he got plugged, you wouldn't have even seen this on the news. They would have never covered it. But because they did, now you can see good guys with guns do stop bad guys with guns. If there were more of them, there'd be less bad guys thinking they could get away with it, and there'd be less bad guys who tried it that actually did get away with it. And it also shows you don't have to be a trained killer, a trained super trooper, a tactical god to actually fire a gun in a straight line and hit a bad guy. Most people can do it with a couple of hours of practice at the range. And if you're someone who shoots recreationally, you're probably going to be better than most people that are trained, because shooting recreationally is the best way to be able to hit your target. You can spend 50 hours in training, and if you don't carry that training over into your everyday life, which you're not likely to do, you're not going to be that great. But if you make a lifestyle out of going out and shooting targets and shooting at other things, just shooting recreationally, hunting, whatever, you're going to have every ounce of skill you need to take out a bad guy. And like I said, in places now where there's constitutional carry, where there's more good guys that can carry their gun without all the red tape, there's going to be more cases of this happening. Good guys stopping bad guys. In fact, I think there'll be less instances of bad guys even trying it. The only thing we have to do now in these states that have constitutional carry is overcome that mental stigma a lot of them have that, I just won't be able to do it if I try, or I'll fail, or I'll hurt somebody else, because that's just not the case. Most gun owners, if you practice just a little bit or just make it a part of your daily life, you're going to be very capable, and we'll live in a society where good guys with guns not only stop bad guys with guns in the act, but bad guys won't even bother because they know the good guys are there. And with that being said, that's it for me today. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I do appreciate you coming, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry, because you too could be the good guy that stops a bad guy with a gun. You never know. Let's all hope it never happens, and you never have to be, that you never have to draw your gun. But just in case, like I said, always carry, and stay safe until I see you again.